Ever since the current battle rating system has been implemented many years ago, a very prominent problem has been steadily growing within the game. A problem so strong that a vehicle had to be removed from the game. A victim of BR compression, the mouse was removed on the premise of it being too difficult to balance. Gaijin stated that in an ever-evolving meta, the mouse just couldn't be balanced. It was either too powerful in a down tier, with half of the tanks it could face not being able to penetrate it, or just completely unusable in a full up tier. And when I say unusable, I mean it. The mouse cannot do anything against aircraft. If you find yourself in the vicinity of an enemy aircraft, the best thing you can hope to do is pray they miss, because players will definitely target you because the mouse is just such a huge, slow, and easy target to hit. Helicopters are just one of the many difficulties the mouse faces in a typical up tier. Planes are another. Aside from those both, the BR of 7.7 is just where the meta of German tanks switches from high armor and average mobility to all mobility and no armor. Being placed at the same BR as the mouse at 7.7, the Leopard is a perfect example of why the mouse failed. It's at the BR where armor does not matter nearly as much as previous BRs, and it's got excellent mobility. The Leopard 1 is essentially the polar opposite of the mouse, and that's why it has survived the meta much better than the mouse has. BR compression has been a huge issue for years now. Every top tier added to the game deepens this problem slowly yet surely. For the longest time, a Saber being able to fight the newly added F4C Phantom back in 1.91 was a somewhat common occurrence. It took over a year for top tier aircraft to reach over 10.7. Planes such as the F4E Phantom, MiG-23, MiG-21 Biz, and Mirage 3E have only fairly recently made the jump to a new whole number of BRs, 11.0. This somewhat alleviated the problem, but in no way completely solved the high-tier compression crisis. Other victims of BR compression in high-tier air battles include the F-84 and F-100. First of all, the F-84B being placed at 7.3 and the F-84G at 7.7 means that they're both at a low enough BR to still be fighting props. The F-84s have a high enough speed to remain untouchable even by jets of their own BRs. With the F-84B having a top speed of nearly 600 miles per hour in a straight line, speed is its main strength. The F-100D is a pretty similar case. Being placed at 9.7, it relies heavily on its speed. Being one of the fastest beginner supersonics on the deck, a top speed of Mach 0.99 encourages a hit-and-run playstyle, especially considering the F-100 is not very good at dogfighting. A common theme between these two aircraft is that they both rely on their top-line speed. What is also shared by these planes is that they're in a similar position to the mouse. They dominate anything in a down tier, and are almost hopeless in a full up tier. The problem is evidently so widespread that it affects both ground and air, and is experienced by the majority of people who have made it to the higher tiers of the game. Such a widespread problem that has existed for years now surely has a solution by now, right? Well, in a perfect world, War Thunder would be absolved of this one issue without any work having to be put in by the community. But since our world is far from perfect, I thought I would provide my opinion on how to patch this problem. My main proposition and an idea that I think would provide the biggest benefit is raising the maximum BR to 15.0 at the minimum to give every vehicle some breathing room. More BRs would allow similar vehicles to receive leeway for their small differences. A good example of this would be the two Tiger 1s. The Tiger E is just flat out better than the Tiger H1, but it's not good enough to warrant being placed at a higher BR. That's why it was initially at 6.0, but moved down to 5.7 later down the line. With a more spread out battle rating plan, vehicles that have minor differences will be able to receive the proper balancing they need. A heightened BR spread would also prove beneficial by allowing vehicles in the compression zone to have better opponents to fight against. With a fairer BR spread, the mouse and many other vehicles in a similar situation may be able to enjoy the game a lot more. An alternative to this suggestion would be reducing the maximum possible BR difference of vehicles in a single match. If BRs can't be extended to 15.0, limiting how far up or far down a vehicle could get up or down tiered would also serve as a way to reduce the BR balance issue. The ever-recurring mouse would then only be able to face tanks from 7.0 to 8.3. This solution would also provide a more balanced environment and would in turn decrease the overall dissatisfaction with the balance of War Thunder. To conclude this video, the age-old problem of War Thunder's BR compression has plagued the game for years now. Especially with recent BR changes, the end of it all appears to be nowhere in sight, at least for the foreseeable future. However, we can always hope that Gaijin will have a change of heart and listen to the community. I'm far from the only one who has suggested solutions for BR compression, and if these suggestions are taken seriously, it could really change War Thunder for the better.